B-sides. See? B-sides. I guess it'd work with a record too, but I don't have any of those here with me. Good morning. If it seems like I'm being quiet, it's because I am. Because I'm the only one awake. Alright, so we're going to be reading Team of Rivals, as you might have guessed from the title. Maybe. Unless you were like, what's Team of Rivals Part 2? Why is there an old black and white picture of something? It's Abraham Lincoln, right? Did I point to the right guy? Yes. Alright. Did I mark the page where I was, or did I just... I don't think I did. Oh, yeah, I did. There's a bookmark type thing. I usually use one of these sticky things. Because that way I can stop in the middle of, like, between paragraphs. I'm not going to read the table of contents. Introduction. In 1876, the celebrated orator Frederick Douglass dedicated a monument in Washington, D.C., erected by Black Americans to honor Abraham Lincoln. The former slave told his audience that, quote, "There is little necessity on this occasion to speak at length and critically of this great and good man, and of his high mission in the world. That ground has been fully occupied. Four dots. The whole field of fact and fancy has been gleaned and garnered. Any man can say things that are true of Abraham Lincoln, but no man can say anything that is new of Abraham Lincoln. Oh, just give it 140 years. You'll start hearing some new stuff." End quote. Speaking only 11 years after Lincoln's death, Douglass was too close. I think maybe Doris and I might be a little bit on the same page. This much. Douglass was too close to assess the fascination that this plain and complex, shrewd and transparent, tender and iron-willed leader would hold for generations of Americans. In the nearly 200 years since his birth, countless historians and writers have uncovered new documents, provided fresh insights, and developed an ever-deepening understanding of our 16th president. Okay. In my own effort to illuminate the character and career of Abraham Lincoln, I have coupled the account of his life with the stories of the remarkable men who were his rivals for the 1860 Republican presidential nomination: New York Senator William H. Seward, Ohio Governor Salmon P. Chase. It's spelled like salmon, like the fish, so I'm pronouncing it that way. Maybe it's pronounced Salmon or something. I don't know. And Missouri's distinguished elder statesman, Edward Bates. That's like a combination of Edward and Norman Bates. I was going to say me, but then I realized. Just keeping it obscure for the people who are new. Taken together, the lives of these four men give us a picture of the path taken by ambitious young men in the North who came of age in the early decades of the 19th century. All four studied law, became distinguished orators, entered politics, and opposed the spread of slavery. Their upward climb was one followed by many thousands who left the small towns of their birth to seek opportunity and adventure in the rapidly growing cities of a dynamic, expanding America. You mean the United States of America? You know, there's 3 Americas, North, Central, and South. So really, Canada and Argentina are part of America, unless you look at the conventional way that people speak English. Never mind. All right. Just as a hologram is created through the interference of light from separate sources, so the lives and impressions of those who companioned Lincoln give us a clearer, more dimensional picture of the president himself. Lincoln's barren childhood, his lack of schooling, his relationships with male friends, his complicated marriage, the nature of his ambition, and his ruminations about death can be analyzed more clearly when he is placed side by side with his 3 contemporaries. By the way, today's beverage is spearmint tea. And I was just starting to feel a little bit paranoid because with these relatively recently published books, like the idea of doing an unlicensed audiobook version. Come on. It sort of reminded me a little bit of how the reaction videos when they watch a TV show, they well, for one thing, they usually don't play the entire show. I think there's a little bit of, I don't know, it depends a lot on a lot of things, and I don't know. It's sort of like I don't have any basis of comparison. I'm the only one that I know of that's doing this. And I'm not interested in if anybody else is doing this. I mean, it's boring as fuck as it is. Why would I go check out other people doing something similar? Radha's Devotion is the name of the incense. Anyway, what's my point? My point is that I thought I should interrupt the reading and give commentary, since that's the fair use thing. But I don't know if that applies to like reading an entire page of a book. This book was like popular for a while. I think it won some awards. I don't know that anybody's still rushing out to buy copies. There might be like a few, I don't know, $100 a year trickling in from sales of the book in 2026. I don't think that my, if anything, randomly finding this will make people, if you're curious about this book and you want to read it, it'll take far less time and be far less irritating for you to just get yourself a copy. Just get yourself. See what this is called is free advertising, not free book. Right? And when the reaction videos, they'll do an entire series, one episode at a time, stopping and giving commentary throughout and obscuring it and making it so you can't see the whole thing. So I think that me mispronunciating here and there might count as that. I don't know. I'm just talking shit. Most of the books I read are either really old or already in the public domain. It's nice when I can find, like, if it's on archive.org, there's already a free download version, then it's like, so what if I read it? So yeah, if you got curious from the thumbnail and the title, you clicked through and you watched a full however many minutes it's been since the video began, yeah, by all means, get yourself a copy. You don't have to get the hardback. I'm sure you can find a used paperback. And then the author also gets nothing. So what the hell, So I don't think I need to be that paranoid. It's just they put these things at the beginning. I didn't read all the stuff on that title page of this one, I don't think, but the other one. Oh yeah, B-sides. Hopefully I'll remember to put this link here. Check out Buddhist Books B-sides. So we've done this for Chicken Philosophy. This is Chicken Philosophy B-sides. You knew that, right? And there's a Buddhist Books B-sides. Besides, no, that's stupid. Like B-E-S-I-D-E-S. Maybe there's something that can be done with that. Some pun. I don't know. So yeah, on Chicken Philosophy B-sides, we're reading the Abraham Lincoln thing. Because Chris has been trying to get me to read this for I want to say 20 years. If it came out in 2006, then that's right. I remember seeing it on his bookshelf. I think it was the only book back then in 2006. And back then, he was trying to get me to read it. 2005, yeah, so that's accurate. My memory is accurate. I think he got it when it was first oh my god, New York Times or whatever, top seller, bestseller, whatever. And then the other one here on Chicken Philosophy is, oh yeah, The Darkening Age. Can you see this? I try to be subtle about things I put in the place of the books that I pull out, because I don't like the books going boom, boom, boom. So I usually stick something in there. And if it's a bright red Deadpool Coke can, then I cover it up with something like this. And usually it doesn't show up. I mean, if I push it farther back, then the light doesn't catch it. But anyway. So on Buddhist Books Podcast, we're reading The 14 Dalai Lamas and Melinda Pana. And normally, if this were A-sides, you'd see some cool thumbnails pop up there, but it's not A-sides. And one thing that, at least as of now, I'm sticking to is when the day rolls around on the calendar where it's time for me to read a B-sides. That means I get a break from editing. No editing. So I just have to, if I'm going to burp or something, I just have to kind of make it as quiet as possible and just live with the fact that you all know that I'm a creature, a biological organism, if you will. Cheers. I mean, these days, with all the fucking so-called AI, I feel like it's refreshing in a way. It's like the more imperfect a thing is, the more noticeably imperfect. And it's like, oh, it would be very difficult for AI to imitate this level of imperfection. Difficult, but not impossible. I give it a year. Fuck. I wonder how long it's going to be. You remember? Does anybody remember? I don't remember, but I've heard about it. In 1982 or 83, when it came time to dole out the Oscars, like there were a bunch of categories where it was obvious that the original Tron movie was far superior to anything else that came out that year. But they were disqualified by the Oscars because they used computer generated. What does CGI stand for? They used CGI. They used computers instead of moving puppets around and putting cameras at certain angles with little models. And so that was cheating. They used computers to generate the images that were on the screen, so they were disqualified from the Oscars. They weren't allowed to get any awards. And obviously nowadays that's laughable because every single movie, well, not every movie, but most movies, what am I talking about? So I have a feeling that, you know, if we keep healthy, God willing, we will see the year that there's controversy and where ultimately the Oscar does not go to the fully AI generated, AI written, AI acted, AI put up on the screen movie that came out in theaters, technically, in the one or two that they dusted off, you know, to be like, hey, wouldn't it be funny if this was in a theater? But obviously on the streaming platforms, or one of them. What am I talking about? Yeah, and then another 10 years later, people will be like, can you believe they didn't give the Oscar to that movie just because it was AI generated? Now all the best movies are AI generated. Thoughtful, intriguing, interesting. No human could come up with such a brilliant storyline with such deep messaging and thoughtful themes and emotional resonating. Yeah, humans just can't do that anymore. I mean, I don't know. Do you think? Or am I being crazy? Do you think that maybe that'll never happen? Don't know. Don't know. I mean, as of now, it's still like it's like a very high, complicated, not sophisticated. It's like a complex and fast imitation of human things. And if you can imitate enough human things at the same time, then it appears new, but it kind of doesn't. But then again, does anything? Is this new? Is there anything new about what I'm doing? I mean, kinda. But is it? Is it new to read Team of Rivals on a YouTube channel with no editing that's vertically oriented but not as short, and wear a little Saint Benedict medallion and the second of the 3 layers of a kimono? It was handmade by my friend's parents with a joie de vivre shirt from West Side. Is that the name of that place? And a hat. They sell these hats all over. I see this hat everywhere I go. And sometimes I'm tempted. I'm like, oh, that hat is a slightly brighter shade of blue. And I'm like, no, this is the hat I've been wearing. I don't want to change it. Okay. When Lincoln won the nomination, each of his celebrated rivals believed the wrong man had been chosen. Ralph Waldo Emerson recalled, His first reception of the news that the, quote, comparatively unknown name of Lincoln, end quote, had been selected, quote, we heard the result coldly and sadly. It seemed too rash, on a purely local reputation, to build so grave a trust in such anxious times. End quote. All right. It's time to switch gears to the other Lincoln. No, not the same guy seen through slightly more critical eyes. This seems to be a little bit blow smoke up assy, which is fine. Whatever. I mean, I don't know. Like, you hear a lot these days about, you know, how like other people were like, yeah, we should free all the slaves and they should all vote. And then Lincoln was like, if we have to, we should free some of the slaves and some of them can vote. And people were like, Lincoln, why are you such a racist asshole? And he's like, I'm not as racist as that guy. And it's like, well, that's true. People were pretty damn racist back then. But I think anybody's racist grandpa, if put side by side with Abraham Lincoln in 1859, the racist grandpa would be like, hey, man, you don't have to be that much of an asshole. But anyway, that's just the impression that I get. I'm willing to have my mind gradually changed throughout the process of reading this book over these next few centuries. This is still the Lincoln? Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, yeah. Because there's some overlap with the chapter called Mickey. It's not really overlap, it's just the same character. You ready? Continuing from picking up where we left off last time. Mickey gazed upon his flock. They moved like a harmonious blur. He walked back and forth with his large, round shoes, adjusted the two large buttons on his suspenders, and smiled with the pride of knowing he'd been a good shepherd to his drones for many years. His smile was at once absurd and menacing. Suddenly, Mickey became deeply disturbed. Something in the blurry harmony before him was acting very strangely. His drone 46, who until 10 years prior had been and would again be named Blythe, began to show strange signs. Mickey contacted his master, Redbird Sergeant Lee, and described what he saw. Redbird Sergeant Lee checked the readings for himself and saw that this was indeed alarming. The drone's vital signs seemed to be flipping in and out, but the duties of the drone were still being fulfilled as if nothing was happening. Redbird Sergeant Lee, as in Robert E. Never mind. Tried to contact his supervisor, but he wasn't responding, so he went straight to General George Washington Bush of Anglesey, who was fishing at the time. Quote, Lee, what the fuck art thou calling me for? End quote. Quote, something strange is happening with one of my drones. End quote. Quote, a drone? Hast thou lost thy goddamn mind? An thou ever callest me again about a drone, I shall strip thee of thy rank, and thou shalt be mining Saturn's rings within a week. Do I make myself clear? End quote. Quote, "It's only that, how now?" End quote. Lee fidgeted, contemplating the ramifications of the readings he saw. Redbird Sergeant Lee reopened the link with Manager God Mickey. Quote, "Terminator." End quote. Mickey replied, quote, "Understood." End quote, in his usual falsetto. He turned to the blurry image of the He turned to where the blurry image of the drone had been, but saw nothing. Redbird Sergeant Lee arrived at his building a few minutes later to find a circular pane of glass about a meter in diameter cut out of one side of the building, and the bed nearest to the incision was empty. And there's a little dot in the middle of the screen indicating passage of time or something, Quote, "Anonymity is the name of the game in the free web," end quote, said Billy, who wore a black leather jacket and pants, the face of an ancient Kiowa chief Asaketa, Ray-Bans, and spoke with a Hebraian accent with a heavy metallic reverb. Quote, "Well, that and revealing thy true identity, 'tis all a matter of timing and usually pretty intuitive." End quote. Blythe was still a little disoriented as she and Billy walked along the path through the appearance of a dimly lit Seneca village in the 1930s. In their universe. Never mind. Billy continued, quote, "The Lincoln hath been so kind as to grant thee an apartment overlooking the Colosseum." End quote. He pointed toward the door of one of the nearby buildings. Quote, "He did think thou might enjoy observing the games, thus expanding thy knowledge of the arts of violence. Thou mayest participate in the games whenever thou wilt, or thou mayest challenge an opponent and schedule a fight at there is an opening." End quote. Blythe was becoming more alert. Quote, "Whither are we?" End quote. Quote, "Dost thou remember whither thou wert before thou wert arrested?" End quote. Quote, "The subways." End quote. Quote, "And after thou wert arrested?" End quote. Quote, "I was ... three dots." End quote. Blythe's eyes widened with a look of horror. Quote, "Thou wert a drone. 'Tis not nice, is it? Now thou art kind of in between. This is one of the free worlds. None of this is really here, except that everyone here is experiencing it." End quote. Quote, "The Lincoln is in charge here?" End quote. Quote, "He is more like tech support. This is meant to be a free place. Dost thou see that flag?" End quote. Blythe squinted. Quote, "Methought 'twas a torch. 'Tis a burning flag?" End quote. Quote, "When thou needst help with anything, thou canst call on the Lincoln like this." End quote. Billy made an obscene and insulting gesture toward the burning flag, becoming solid when it arrived. What? Oh, no, I skipped a bit. Billy made an obscene and insulting gesture toward the burning flag and said, quote, "How now, asshole? Come hither forthwith." End quote. The ghostly image of a Quicksilver Abraham Lincoln floated toward them from the flag, becoming solid when it arrived. Quote, "How may I be of service?" End quote. He said ironically, since he had a high-pitched voice, didn't he? That's what they say. That wasn't in the text. That was editorial commentary. Quote, "Lincoln, this is Blythe." End quote. Quote, "Pleased to make thy acquaintance." End quote. The Lincoln said, "Charmed." I'm sure, Blythe replied. I wrote this book, if you were wondering what the fuck I was reading that whole time. So I did not. Doris wrote this book. You can find a link to get yourself a copy in the description below. And more importantly, I wrote this book, and you can find a link in the description to get yourself a copy. It's got some nice illustrations. And I think I showed you the, yeah. All right. That's today's episode. If you watched it, please comment, because I'm curious if anyone's going to watch this one, because there's like one or two aspects of A-Side's chicken philosophy that, I mean, among those being that there's like some 561 subscribers now to A-Sides. And I think not that many on B-Sides. But if you're watching this and you're not me, and you're not Pew, and you're not shy, if you're shy, that's fine. Be shy, that's fine. But if you kind of were thinking about commenting, but, I don't know. Like, no, comment. I'm curious. Who made it to the end? That's it for today. Until next time, keep an eye on A-Sides. BT's going to be reading Nagamati soon. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe today. Fuck, I don't know. Till then, peace.